Hello and welcome to the Knock On KCLR and Scoreline.ie's weekly rugby podcast. We're joined by James Blanchfield from Kilkenny, Tom Crotty from Carlow, and Paddy Browne from Tullow Rugby Clubs. Gentlemen, how are you?
All good, Stephen. All
Very
good.
good, Stephen. Excellent.
We were literally blown away at the weekend. So much so that some of the Kilkenny matches didn't go ahead, James. So we haven't much to report last week with yourselves, and there wasn't good news on the playing pitches for Carlow or Tullow either. But we'll begin with yourself, James. Anyway, all your fixtures for the lads anyway went to the wall with the weather warning that was out there, so you couldn't do anything in it.
Yeah, all of Sunday's fixtures went to the wall, Stephen, which
Yeah.
I suppose was disappointing that they were postponed. The weather wasn't really too bad in the end in Kilkenny. Disappointing in the fact that they were called off so late on Sunday morning. They probably should have been pulled on Saturday. But it was nearly 10 or 11 on Sunday by the time the decision was made, which is probably unfair on players and unfair on coaches and travelling teams and everything like that. If there's not having a cut at anyone, but if there's an orange or a red weather warning in place, the game should be pulled the day beforehand if they're clashing. It's unfair. It's unfair on everybody, you know.
Absolutely.
But first off, I can't remember if I mentioned it last week. On a positive note, the club have been granted 123,000 in this year's allocation of sports capital funding. Absolutely fantastic for the club. Allows us to continue on in the next phase of our ground development in Foogstown, be it into drainage or whatever it might be. But again, just want to pass our members' thanks to Mick O'Donovan, Mick Hannigan, Vinny O'Shea, and Mary Louise Briody and everyone else who contributed to that grant. But yeah, back.
You get a good 9 bikes into that, James, so you would.
Yeah, well, that's it. Unfortunately, we don't have the OPW procurement team, Stephen, unfortunately. So we might make that €123,000 stretch a little bit further. You know, we might get 10 bikes into it. You know, but yeah, on the rugby field, look at along our J1 and J2 along with the women's games were called postponed last for Sunday. The J1 and J2 games are rearranged for this Saturday. Feel kind of Gorey would have been our first home game of the season, and Gorey named a relatively strong side. I think there was 5 positional or personnel changes in it. Saw Joe Manuel move from the centre into the back row. Wes Carter, for me, in a very unusual call, was put in the centre. Doesn't add up why you would move Joe to 12 or Joe to 6 and Wes to 12, but obviously there's method there, and who am I to make a call on that? It would have saw Podgeman come in for his first start of the season, our Argentinian import Johan Rossetti coming in for his first start, and Axel Montgomery moving to fullback along with Dan O'Neill going in at out half for his first start of the season with us as well. So yeah, that would have been great. The J2s had a good team out as well. Donald Keeley was down to start at hooker, down from the firsts. Important to mention Joe Conley. Joe came through our youth system at us and kind of went away from rugby for a couple of years, but he returned there towards the end of middle to the end of last season, playing number 8 for our seconds. He's back now after having an absolute brilliant year playing midfield for Clara in the Kilkenny Senior Championship. They were knocked out by Bennettsbridge last Sunday week, but Joe was back for the year, and we will all be pushing and hoping to see Joe break his way into the first team because he's good enough for that. Good one is Brendan McIntyre is back again for what I think is Brendan's 21st consecutive year of adult rugby with the club. I think I just have to mention the guy. I played second row with him for about 10 seasons, maybe a bit longer. I stopped playing in 2019. I thought Brendan would stop playing around then again, but he just stays coming back, and he keeps himself in really good shape and really good order. And his young fella Daniel is the water boy, and Daniel kind of sees himself as an integral part of the team management as well. So I'm wondering, does Brendan play for his own sake or to keep the young lad involved with the team? I don't know, but it's great to see him out there. All of our minis training was cancelled as well last Sunday. The call was made on Saturday night for that we'd make the call to cancel that. Some people were looking for it to be a decision to be made at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. But again, to be fair to parents and families, the decision was made on Saturday. In terms of youth results last week, it was quite a good weekend for the club. Our under-13s beat Thurles in a quite competitive friendly under lights in Kilkenny on Friday night. Our under-16 girls lost away to New Ross. Our under-14 girls lost to Wexford in an absolute cracking game. 24-25 was the final score. The team is coached, the under-14 girls is coached by Joe Manuel, Derek Lawler and Jenny Kerwin, and they put in an absolute hell-raising performance that were so unlucky. And they love it, and I say it every week, Joe Manuel deserves incredible kudos from everyone in the club that he's playing. He's coaching the girls team, he's coaching the under-14 girls team, and he's coaching the women's team as well. So Joe's just doing incredible work around the club, along with his father Simon, who's coaching the under-15 boys as well. The under-15 boys beat New Ross in a good game, 28-14. The under-15 boys beat New Ross 28 points to 7. Considering they had 3 yellow cards in the game as well, and it was a Kilkenny ref, we can't have any complaints. I spoke to the ref last night, and Lee and Simon and Pat Holden all had a bit of a slagging with Lar Conroy, who was the ref, but there were 3 merited yellow cards, and Lee kind of feels that there might be 3 yellow cards that might be good for the team as well, to make them learn about tackling low and entering rucks from the rear. So yeah, that was that. I do need to mention the coaching team of our under-15 boys. I think there might be 6 Towns Cup medals in the coaching ticket of Lee Selman, Pat Holden and Simon Manuel. So if those young fellas don't have the best coaches in the club, I'd point me the team that probably are the most experienced coaches in the club in a playing perspective. I'd love to see a team that has a more experienced coaching team than that. Our feature game of the week was our under-16 boys, who beat New Ross on 40 points to 7. Coached by Vinny O'Shea, our club president, coached by our Vinny O'Shea, who's our club chairman, our club president Mick Hannigan, and Freddie Coaga. So the guys putting in great work there to win 40 points to 7. The player of the day on that from our game of the week was Cody Phelan. Cody dominated in all parts of the game, and if anyone knows Cody, if you don't know Cody, you know him to see. He's a big, tall guy with a great big head of red curly hair. He'll play back row, he'll play centre, but by all accounts, he dominated the game from start to finish last week. He's a good young fella, and he's definitely one to watch. Our throwback of the year is our 1959 Towns Cup winning team. It was the second cup that the club won after winning the inaugural win in 1955. Ironically, it was North Kildare that beat in both of those finals. I'm sure some of my mother's uncles were on that North Kildare team as well. The famous Andy Henderson, who had the Andy's Tavern on Rose Inn Street, now Lanigan's in Kilkenny, might be well known. One of the well-known players on that team. Jack Nutley, who was a then Irish out half, was on the team along with other Sil Gaffney and Paddy Kavanagh. A player profile of the week is our under-18 girl scrum half, Rossa Phelan, who's in school in Loretto. The thing that she loves most about the club is the equity, which is great to hear is the equity between
Absolutely.
boys and girls and men's and women's in the club. And it's great to see that young girls in the club are recognising that there's the barriers that may have once been there in girls' sport are kind of now torn down. And it probably took us as a club some number of years to will I say allow the barriers to be brought down, or for people to accept, I don't know, but I think it's absolutely incredible to see the girls teams doing as well as they're doing with the numbers that they're having. Her best memory is playing Leinster under 16, and her coaches Peter Hart, Ed Mulrooney and Mary Louise Briody need special mention from the club for all of the work that they continuously do at under 18 girls level to make sure that under 18 girls stays happening. In context of all of that, there is, last but by no means least, in terms of our kind of people profile for the week, our members profile is the one and only, none other than the great Eamon Dooley. Eamon needs no introduction to Kilkenny rugby people. He played a little bit of rugby, just a little bit, at J3. He kind of migrated away from the club for a while, but in 2018, Doc O'Connor and then club president Dave Matthews persuaded him to come in as manager of the first team. And I don't think anyone could ever have a bad word about Eamon. He's always smiling. You could sometimes find him crying as well, depending on what's going on the pitch. If we're winning, he's crying. If he's losing, we're crying. And I think that's also supposed to show how much the club means to him. And he never lets the club down. Nothing's ever too much for him. And his wife Mary needs mention as well, because she couldn't. She mustn't like him very much because he's always in the club. But when Corey came in as head coach, the first call Corey made was to get Eamon on board and make sure Eamon was going to stay on board. As I say every week, all of this kind of news and kind of improved social media that we're doing can be accessed on KilkennyRugby.ie, Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Looking ahead to next Sunday, I don't think anything is going to change all that much from J1s and JS2s. Or Saturday, so last weekend's games have been rearranged to this coming Saturday. So at the J1 kicking off at 1:30, the first 15 kicking off at 3 p.m. It's questionable whether the first 15 or not will be named, or the same 15 for both teams will be named. I'm probably unlikely to see any changes unless more guys are back from injury or somebody has appeared at the gate that we weren't expecting. Gorey are coming up to us, coming down. They're coming up to Kilkenny for the day, having come down from Division 1A, and they're probably looking for a prompt return to that division. So we'll see how it goes. We're not going to get carried away with ourselves. We can't after the performance in Mullingar 2 weeks ago. The women's team are at home to Ashbourne, and kick-off there is at 1 p.m. That will be their first league game of the season as well. So we wish them the best of luck. Paddy, Victor, Joe, and the two Joes will have them well prepared. I saw they were all in the gym last night doing a strength session. So best of luck to the women on Sunday, and hopefully we're reporting next week with a win. Youths rugby in the weekend ahead. On Friday night, the under-13 boys are away to Enniscorthy in the South East League. Leinster League rugby kicks off then this weekend. Our under-14 girls are home to the Delaways, which I think is a combination between Salle Palmerston and Old Wesley. That's on Saturday. Our under-16 boys are home to Tullow in the Leinster League. Our under-15 boys are away to Portlaoise in the Leinster League. And the under-14 boys are away to Wexford in the Leinster League. On Sunday, the under-18 boys are away to Portlaoise, also in the Leinster League, and that kind of wraps up all of the games for the weekend. Finally, we need to mention Doc O'Connor. Doc hasn't played yet this season, and for good reason, not that he's injured, but a couple of years ago, Doc lost one of his very close friends to suicide, and this weekend he's taking on a full marathon in aid of Pieta House. We will share all of our links to his fundraising on GoFundMe, I think, or iDonate or something, are accessible on all of our social media pages. And if give a little or give a lot, I know it will all go to a good cause. Wish Doc the very best in his marathon. Looking forward to seeing him back on the pitch in a week's time. But we all understand why he's not on the pitch for such an incredible cause. And I think it's just a measure of the man that he is, that he's sacrificing so much in his life at the moment to train for this cause, for Pieta House, in memory of one of his friends. So, wish him
Absolutely.
the best. And that
You're
closes
only
out
giving him
everything.
a week for recovery, James.
Well, he has to be training Tuesday night.
Best of luck with that. I can speak from experience, but yeah.
Yeah. He'd be walking like John Wayne.
But best of luck to him, though. That's fantastic now, in fairness.
Yeah, that draws a close to everything from Kilkenny Rugby Club for the week ahead, from the week past, and look forward to the week ahead.
Absolute good stuff. Paddy, Browne, it wasn't a good weekend for Tullow. There's no two ways about it. The women got their AIL season off to a start anyway, which is great to mark the occasion. They were home as well. And we'll start with the fellas, Leinster League Division 1A duty. Your dearest and nearest neighbours, Wicklow. We won't tell about Carlow at this stage, but Wicklow have come up against the last couple of years and that, and wasn't a good day at the office.
No, Stephen, and thanks for the intro there. And just to kick off, can I say I'm over in Portugal at the moment, and I decided to come out on the balcony to record this. for two reasons. One is to kind of lift the gloom after the weekend a little bit with all the bad weather and bad results. And the other reason, of course, is to try and torment you guys a little bit, just to make you jealous or something like that. But anyway, greetings from Cabanas in the Algarve. If you don't mind, I'll start with the good news story, because we have one, and then I'll get on to the bad news stories that you mentioned there. Like, I don't want to let the weekend pass without noting the incredible achievement of the Irish women's team and the role of our own Dana O'Brien in that. So, as most people will know at this stage, that last weekend they made a big breakthrough by beating New Zealand's Black Ferns. And, it really looks as if women's rugby in Ireland has broken through a barrier with that win. And, it really is a sign of big things to come, because they've only just gone professional or got contracts, and they were struggling with the other Six Nations even teams up to that. But this win puts them right up there, number 6 in the world, I think. And the fact that it was the All Blacks, or the Black Ferns as they're known, it was fantastic. It required a try at the death, and also on top of that, a conversion from Dan O'Brien to go in off the post to win the match by a point. So really fair play to Dana. She learned her rugby from scratch in our small club, and so we're so very proud of her. I think this match in years to come, as women's rugby grows, will become up there in the pantheon of the famous All Black defeats, like the Munster beating them in Thomond Park in 1978, and then of course Ireland's first victory in Soldiers Field in Chicago in 2016. So I'm predicting that in about 20 years' time, the 200,000 people will have been in Vancouver to watch Ireland beat the Black Ferns in 2024. So. That's that, just to open up on a more positive note. What did you say yourself, Stephen? Going on to the men's team, I think, as Johnny Tobin said on this group, we would have probably preferred if our match was rained off as well, but it wasn't, because we were playing on Saturday, and both our first and our seconds went down in huge defeats to Wicklow. We've absolutely no excuse. We talked about it last week and talked about, it's always nip and tuck between Tullow and Wicklow, and it certainly has been over the last few years. But this was a totally different kettle of fish altogether. We were missing a few players, but every team probably is at this time of the year. And Wicklow were relentless. And I'm talking about the first now, 50 points to 7. So if you don't mind, I don't think there's any point in going through the scores, because it's it wouldn't achieve anything on the podcast. But I wasn't there, but any of the guys I was talking to were there. So Wicklow were much more clinical. They took all their chances and really put it up to us. And similarly with the seconds, 43-0 defeat to the seconds. And after a very good performance by our seconds the previous week against Ashbourne, it was a big surprise to ship 2 such big defeats. On a slightly more positive note, two of our key players who are out would be Adam Johnson and Stevie Smith, and we are hoping that they will be back for the next match. We probably welcome a break next weekend with no match, so our next match is away to Suttonians on the 12th of September, and we're hoping those 2 players will be back. We also were a few other guys out injured. Colin Gorey and Jack McDonald actually got a red card in the Wicklow match, so he's awaiting sentencing, as they say, and I think Wicklow are being quite supportive in it, in fairness to them. So yeah, it's on the men's front, it's not good. First of 2 losses in 2 matches, and the seconds of 1 loss in 2 matches. So it's not a great start. So hopefully the break now might give us some bit of a reprieve and getting guys back. And Suttonians away won't be simple either on the 12th of September. On the women's front, yeah, exactly, yeah. So on the ladies' front, yeah, as you said, it was a huge day for the women, or the club's first ever game, men and women, in the AIL. So it was a very big occasion. And the final score, again, to Wicklow was 34-14, and this one was in Tullow, whereas the men's matches were away. And while the score 34-14 sounds quite decisive, we were within 3 points with 10 minutes to go. And Wicklow scored 17 points in those last 10 minutes. And we were kind of looking good at that stage, I think, and attacking. So it all fell apart in the last 10 minutes. But it certainly wasn't as one-sided as the score would suggest. The other kind of bad news during that game is we shipped 3 fairly significant injuries to Hilary Fitzgerald, Catherine Dempsey and Orla Hanlon, and they all had to go off injured, and we don't know whether they'll be available next weekend or not. The game started with Wicklow scoring 2 tries, and Tullow came back into it as Joanne Mahan got the end of a really strong run from Alex O'Brien on the 24th minute. Wicklow replied with a try, and then a try from sub Anne-Marie Gardner in the second half, and a conversion by Roisin O'Toole put us, as I said, within 3 points. But then Wicklow finished much the stronger. So the ladies are no break anyway. While the men have a break next weekend, the ladies don't. Have a long trek up to Cook near Belfast next Saturday, and the J2s are away to Clondalkin. So we'll be hoping to have a fair bit of much support as we can in Belfast for the ladies up there. So not a great result all weekend all round for our 3 senior teams. The underage games were much better news, I suppose. We had wins for all 4 teams that were out: the under 13 boys, the under 18 boys, the under 14 Rhinos, and the under 16 Rhinos. All recorded good wins. As James was saying there, the whole thing goes up a gear this weekend with the start of the Leinster League, and our big game under Friday Night Lights is at home to Enniscorthy at the under 18s, and there's quite a good under 18 team there, and we're hoping for a big game there. The under 14 boys are away to Wicklow also on Friday evening. Big game on Saturday would be against Navan in Tullow, and that's a repeat of the Premier final last year, in which Tullow narrowly prevailed over Navan. So both teams are quite strong under 16 teams. So we're imagining Navan will be coming down gunning for revenge, and so that should be a cracker. On Saturday also, the under 15 girls are away to Mullingar, and the under 16 girls are home to Dundalk. Our alternate under 18 team are also have a fixture against Carlow on Saturday at 11 a.m. So a fair bit of activity there, and better results coming in from the youth section as well, and hopefully our senior teams can get back on track to some extent after the break of next weekend. So Stephen, that's it all, more or less the story from the Tullow side, and sure we'll hopefully see an upturn in fortunes.
That's it. And he is going to buy Johnny Sexton's book, lads.
Oh, I have it ordered already.
There's a few spiky snippets coming out, isn't there?
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if few of the New Zealanders were getting a little backhander to rub it up a little bit or stir it up a little bit and increase book sales, I'd say.
100%.
You know,
but you can't blame Johnny for the Iwani stuff anyway, especially coming off after a defeat in a game like that. So you know yourself, your blood would be boiling like. Yeah,
that would. Look at.
It was a fairly low act, all right. In fairness, it really was.
But no, we'll buy it all right, and we'll sit down and take a read of it, and we'll put it up on the shelf beside Paul O'Connell's book and Keith Earle's book and Mick Galway's book and Trevor Brennan's book and all the other rugby books that are on the shelf, and we're going to read or do something with them again in a few years. But I think one thing you can say about Irish sports people is they have great stories to tell, more so I think than some of our others from across the pond where they don't have great stories to tell. I think Irish sports people are far more interesting, shall we say.
And another interesting read at the moment, James and Stephen, of course, I'm reading it out here at the moment, is the final Paul Howard Ross O'Carroll Kelly book. And I'm mourning the fact that this is his final book, because I read every one of them. I have them all, like you, James, on the shelf. And, I don't know what I'm going to do for my holidays when Paul Howard doesn't produce another Ross O'Carroll Kelly book. But anyway,
there's no doubt about it. How many books is in it? There's probably 20 odd books more, is there?
20, I think. Yeah.
And I think the whole Ross O'Carroll Kelly thing is an absolute institution. Probably going back to go to 30 years, is it?
Absolutely, very close to it. Yeah. He's a genius. He's a genius, Paul Howard is.
It's very funny. It's very funny. And I see Roddy Doyle is getting an awful lot of exposure on the radio and televisions recently. He must be coming with another book.
Yeah.
That's it. We have.
Oh, here he is.
Pat the Baker's here to join us, is he?
Jesus, what a day.
The old oven stopped working, Tom.
Better late than never.
But Paddy, Johnny Tobin often said to me, "You're the Roscoe Carroll Kelly at Tullow."
I don't know whether that's a compliment or not now, but anyway, I'll take it, James. Right.
Few dynamites.
I get a phone call from him this evening now, giving out to me why I said that, and I just categorically clarified that Johnny Tobin never said that to me.
Okay.
You might have to get the podcast solicitor involved. Lads. How are you, Tom? All good?
Sure. Could be better.
All right. Good we ask. We're just talking about a few things, Tom. The lads giving updates on the club there, and we were just talking about Johnny Sexton's book, and of course the Irish women beating the All Blacks or the Ferns, is it?
Yeah, Black Ferns.
Black Ferns last weekend, and Dan O'Brien kicking that kick as well, and that. We'll launch straight into it for you with yourself, Tom. Not a great weekend last weekend. You have a couple of tough games to kick off your Division 1A campaign. It was Bective last week. Not a million miles off, but a defeat nonetheless.
Yeah. Look, I'll start with the seconds first because it's the better game. J2's played really well. Had a ding-dong battle against Bective. Bective, I think, they've been doing really well in that division for the last couple of years in the second. So we were expecting a tough battle. Really good game. Bective's forwards are actually really good. Their backs probably weren't as good as we expected. We had a decent enough side out. Game went down to the wire. We were losing 19-7 at half time, and then when we came back and we finished off with Paddy Mackey. We got a try in the very last minute of the game and won the game 2017 or 2019. So huge performance by the seconds, have to say. Just to mention Paddy was definitely probably one of the most outstanding players. We lost before. We had a young Alan Owens that just come back to play and went off. He was playing 10, doing really well. And then he went off. He did his knee. One of many injuries over the weekend. He did his knee, and so he's gone. We don't know for how long for. So young fella Ben came on. He was only supposed to get 20 minutes coming back from injury, and he was a bit puffed at the end. I think he ended up playing nearly the whole game. So.
Oh, Jesus.
But look, I have to hats off to the seconds. They're really good performance. Like 1 to 22, they were absolutely superb. They can't really stand out to everyone. Everyone played so well. You know, it was just a gutsy game. As I say, we knew we were up against it with them, and look, we're delighted to get the win. And on to the first. Probably a bit sickening because nothing against Bective. Like we should have probably won that game. We definitely should have come away with a losing bonus point. All their scores came off our mistakes. Poor exits. I think they scored two. It was either 2 or 3 tries off us not exiting the ball properly. Letting them back in, especially their last try, which took the bonus point away. That was back from reserve. We should just hoofed it down the field, and we didn't. We tried to take it a little bit too much out of it in our own 22, and ended up being turned over. And then they went in the corner and they got a bonus point, and we lost our bonus point. So that's not good for them, not good for us. Well, we probably weren't as accurate as we should have been. That was the key point. It's not, look, we didn't play. I know after the game we probably were a bit upset and we were giving out with this and that and the other. But to be honest, there's like to sum the game up, it was our own errors, little inaccuracies. Was probably the turn of the game when they got into our 22 3 times, and the score they came out with were like in the first half we had them pinned back for a long time. We were in their 22. We didn't take points. They went up the field, got into our 22, and they scored, and that's not good enough. One of those was I think Munster had one at the weekend, which is not acceptable either. It's short ball coming back inside at the D1 D2 defence, right beside the ruck. Shouldn't happen, did happen. Look, it's not the end of the world. We have a really tough game coming up with Wicklow in 2 weeks' time, and that's not going to be easy. Wicklow seem to be absolutely flying at the moment. I was talking to the guys from Bective, said that they've 50 plus lads training. So it's not easy. I think I was after speaking to Ivan Cooper last year with Tullow, and after their first 2 games, and I even had said that the difference between the two leagues, like when you stepped up, was the speed of the ball and how fit the Dublin teams were. As 2 Dublin teams, especially Sea Point, were really just that little bit more fit. The physicality of Division 1A is definitely up. The fitness you need to be in Division 1A is definitely up. And we probably haven't adjusted quick enough. But we know it's ahead of us now. With a
It's
couple
an
of
absolute hell of a division, Tom.
It's a whole of a division, and to be honest, like the biggest problem, like we lost Noah Cope, our scrum half, did his ACL against Sea Point early against Sea Point.
Chap.
And I'm sure, as we all know, scrum halves and out halves don't grow on trees. So that kind of upset the whole back. When you have everything set up and you're been working on your pre-season and working through last season and everything is tickety-boo, everybody knows each other. To try and restart that again at this level is tough. But
I think that's one of the things the Dublin teams have over the rest of us provincial sides is numbers. They have such depth, and it's easier for them to have depth.
Yeah. Like we'd be strong, like forwards wise, we'd be decent enough. We have there's plenty of replacements there for forwards. And a load of lads like Cormac McElliot and that has come back this year and has performed really, really well. Like Cormac has been thereabouts, but last season he was doing his apprenticeships and had to do his time away, so he didn't fully commit last season. Was committed really well this season. So like there's young lads coming back in that are playing really well. We have a nice little young Australian came over from his father would have been friends with 2 of the lads that came over to Carlow at Dunkeys years ago, and he just wanted to travel for a year, so I gave us a call and he came over. But he's only a kid again, like he's only 18 and a half, going on 19. And he played full back because like we're missing, as I say, Ben was only back from who normally would have been starting either on the wing or full back. He was only coming back into the fray with the seconds. But I have to say that Will nice, very nice player. He'll learn too. He's a good runner with the ball. But I say,
Could we see Richie White having to buy a new pair of boots?
Well, to be honest, and I said to Richie after the game, we all knew that one thing, Richie would have overridden every decision on the park to boot that ball down the field, and that's probably what we missed out on. That little bit of we were probably a little bit naive. The lads know it themselves. Like it's not, as I said, there's nothing there can't be fixed. It's not as if to say, oh, gee, Carlow, we're terrible and we're having really bad starts. It's just we're not as we're not as cohesive as we were this time last year. But hopefully, I think the lads will get back together. They needed this break. A lot of sore bodies, very huge amount of sore bodies after the weekend, and everyone is saying basically the same thing. Like we'd always know from playing Tullow, you have your physicality and two teams that hop off each other and you'd be sore on the Monday after it. But this is going to be week in, week out of that.
But that's the way you play the game as well, Tom. Like, I mean, your first 15 bringing, like, I've seen them now from Towns Cup quarter final 3 years ago, couple of league games last year. They bring incredible physicality, like, they're that sort of pack, that sort of 15.
Yeah. But it's look, we live and learn. That's not like, I know, like, it's a long season. We're probably missed out on that bonus point. That's that's something you hope you never regret not getting, because you should be trying to get a point out like this. When you're getting to this stage and you're getting to play in that division, you need to be getting a point for every game. You need points coming out of every game. Like, if you looked at a tie, I think there was 4. Is it 3 points or 4 points and haven't won the game either? 3 points and haven't won the game. So it's something we have to make sure that we're getting points out of every game from now on. But look, as I say, we'll live and learn. I'm not worried. The lads aren't worried. We probably got a bit overexcited at the end of the match, but after a few pints were had in the bar and so on, things relaxed and we actually saw kind of have calmed down and, we know where we've gone wrong and where we have to improve. If we're going forward, we have to improve in certain areas, and all we can do now is go on to Wicklow and give that an absolute lash. It won't be easy.
Is that match in Wicklow, Tom? It is?
Yeah.
Oh,
you really couldn't have a nicer start to the season. You have two of the top Dublin teams to start off. I know you have one of them at home and you didn't get that result. Should have got that result. Sea Point away is a horrible place to go to. It's just the crowd are strong up there, and they're very proud of their home victory. So, and then to go to Wicklow, who are on the cusp of a wave at the moment, by all sounds. I think they've a lot of that. They had a fantastic 18s team last year, really strong, and I know a lot of them are after folding into their setup. So
Right.
there's lads that are playing seconds and that, and there's some really, really good players on that. Like, they won everything last year. What?
Like, I was going to ask that, like, what's different in Wicklow, because I was going to ask, have they brought in players, or to have that 18s team come through? So it's.
I was talking to a guy that was up watching the match. His son is from Carlow, but he plays a bit up there, and they were just up there, and he said, like, there is an awful lot of young players, and I'm presuming that those young 18s that were 18 they had a lot of. I remember watching the final in Danny, but they had a lot of the half age, the 0.5
and a half, yeah.
And they were big guys and quick players. Like, there's a young Clark fella played on the seconds on the wing. Like, I think he scored 3 tries for their seconds.
Wow.
Strong player. So I presume that's where they have, and I don't know. I presume they have brought in players, or players have joined, the same as every club will get 1 or 2 players. But obviously, but it's the numbers that they have. The 50, like, they still have up to 50 training.
Wow.
At the moment, and they were starting 20s as well.
Yeah, I suppose they are a southeast team, and Dublin is sprawling and getting closer to Wicklow, and numbers are probably going up for them, and they could find themselves in a similar position to Greystones very soon.
Yeah. Look, they're a good club, and they have a good system up there, and they've been developing. Their ladies have been developing, their girls have been developing their youths over the last couple of years. So, I mean, they've obviously put huge work into it, and it's paying off dividends.
Well, after last weekend, it's not will you stop talking about Wicklow after last weekend for us?
I was waiting for you, Paddy.
Well, Paddy, you're no different. In fairness, like you told us, the same as Carl. We've been rebuilding for you. Like, we were, as I said, we were probably a step behind you because we were playing catch up, trying to get up leagues. You were that bit of a step ahead of us. But I mean, like, you've a good system, you've a good setup over there in Tullow, and the same at Kilkenny back with their youths. And that's where it all belongs. It comes from youths. The stronger your youths are,
Well, this is it.
The stronger the club gets.
But it's very cyclical. I find it's very cyclical. You'll get a good youth team that comes along, and you get a mountain of them through to adult rugby, and you might only get 1 or 2 through a year for 4, 5, 6 years, and then you might get another 5 or 6 through from youth rugby.
Yeah. But if you don't have youth, the problem is if you don't have lads coming up through, you need to have. You need to be getting. We always said about 5 players coming through every year. Now that doesn't matter whether they're first or second, but you just need to continually have players coming into the system.
Totally.
To keep going.
Absolutely.
You know, it's not easy. Like it's not easy trying to run clubs and trying to get players in and trying to, it's not easy anymore. But look, all you can do is your best and try and recruit as many young fellas and young ladies into play the sport from, and I think that's the advantage we do have in the southeast. We have such a great setup, and we do as an area we've a superb setup, and I think we're blessed, and I think that's why, all the teams are either in 1A or 1B, that's plain and simple. And the likes of New Ross won't be too far behind coming up.
They won't. David Crowdell is doing incredible work in New Ross. He's the new director of rugby down there, and he is doing great work.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said. Like we played, I said that 2 weeks or 3 weeks, wherever it was, about the Southeast final. Like New Ross, the score didn't justify the way they played. They're good young side coming through.
Like Wexford are a club on the up. They have great youth teams. They're producing Leinster players. They're a club on the up.
Yeah.
And Scoreline are probably getting a hard time in AIL rugby, but so we're Tullow. I think you're going to have and I'll let you move on then, Tom. Apologies for talking. I think you're going to have a Leinster team coming down from AIL eventually this year by the looks of it. I know it's early days, but Tullow and Enniscorthy don't look to be setting the world alight.
That is the problem, trying to maintain. Like if you're in Enniscorthy, trying to maintain players at that standard and keep them coming back and avoid them going to Dublin, because, like in fairness, there's so much work in Dublin. And we were just saying about chatting how come the Dublin teams are probably that bit more. As I said, the fitness kind of comes in. If you're in a city that has gyms and you're walking by the gym from work every day, or you're going to the gym, or you're in offices where you're going to the gym before you go to work, it's very hard for country teams to have the same sort of lads have to make an effort. They're traveling to work and they're coming down, and then you're asking them to go to the gym, or it's not easy for country clubs to get the same development for players, because, as I say, it's grand in Dublin where you go to work and you have a gym. Half of the big business, half of the big offices have gyms there, or they're members of the free membership for gyms.
Or you're getting your gym membership paid for. It is a quirk of joining a team,
Exactly. I think we all should be proud of ourselves anyway. We give it
without doubt.
We don't do anything. We do ourselves very proud down here. Not just our 3 clubs, but I keep saying Southeast. We are proud of us all. Yeah, I think that's nearly it for me, except I have to wish our first ladies team are out on Sunday, 2:00 in De La Salle. It's the first ladies team, solo ladies team we've
in a while.
In a long time.
That's a big occasion.
And I think they have 17 girls going up there on Sunday.
Oh, best of luck to them.
And there's a few injured. So look,
Tom, how many of them did you take through youth rugby? You probably took a fair scalp of them, did you?
None of them.
Really? Okay.
No, because any girls that I've been involved with have been joined with Tullow.
Ah, right. Okay.
There was a wonder. No, I think they've all gone. There was no, because we were very slow with the lady getting the girls rugby going, and in fairness, as I said, Robin Johnson, that gives us a great, that was a super thing to get the girls going, like to see. Like we have a good 18s, strong 18s, decent 18s team there, and we need every girl that's between the 2 clubs. It's a kick started both our club with girls. So hats off to both clubs for that. But the ladies are out on their own. I wouldn't be able to socialise with them. Wouldn't be able to keep up with them. I think they like their parties. They're probably one of the best social teams I've seen around in a long time. The equivalent of our the old J3s or J4s. But they know how to party and they know how to bring people together. So I wish them the best of luck.
Absolutely.
They'll enjoy it.
Absolutely. Good luck. Good luck to yourselves this weekend as well, James.
That's it.
A few
I can't finish without congratulating my home hurling club, Thomastown, on beating the great Ballyhale Shamrocks in the Kilkenny Senior Hurling Championship last weekend. First time for intermediate. We're up from intermediate, and Ballahale Shamrocks, we knocked them out in the quarter-final. It'll be the first time in 20 years that Ballahale won't be in at least a county semi-final.
Wow, that's some achievement.
Yeah.
Well done.
Serious stuff.
Yeah, I just wish football had ended so we get a couple of these lads back anyway. Because they're all
Man,
back.
Tom. That's it. We'll wrap it up there, lads. Enjoy the weekend off for the J1s, J2s. Except yourself, James. You're busy, of course, and there's youths and all that besides. Lads, we'll catch up again next week. Thanks a million. That's the knock
Good
on
luck.
with James, Paddy, and Tom. We'll catch us next week. Take care.
Will do.
Good luck.